I wanted to know. It's two different ways you can shoot with these little action cameras, all right? You can do a high resolution with a low frame rate. That's what I'm doing now. Or you can do a lower resolution with a higher frame rate. Looks more, what I'm doing now looks somewhat more cinematic, right? So this is 4K, 24 frames per second. Higher resolution, low frame rate. You get a bit of a blur. When I move my hands, it maybe doesn't look natural, but it looks like, you know, like from the movies, kind of like. And most of what you'll see on television, regardless of how it was shot, has been rendered to 24 frames per second. It's like the Hollywood standard. Television is 30. That's why sometimes you'll notice that television footage just looks different than movies. That's why. So what I'm gonna do is shoot this little video here, maybe hit minute 15 seconds, then I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna shoot the same, I'm gonna be in the same place and kind of talk. But the next video is gonna be 1080p, but 60 frames a second. So now it's gonna be a lower resolution, but a higher frame rate. I suspect, and we'll have to find out, this is an experiment after all, I suspect that the lower resolution but higher frame rate footage will look more natural and actually like a illusory, like an illusion wise, it's gonna look better, even though technically resolution wise it's not. So let's see. All right, so now we're using a lower resolution and a higher frame rate. This is 1080 resolution, okay, full HD, as compared to QHD or UHD, they sometimes call ultra high definition. That's 4K. FHD, that's 1080. QHD, I think, is 2.7. We're not going to bother with that. It's some middle ground nonsense. Go big or go small. Don't worry about the middle ground. But yeah, so here we are, 1080, 60 frames per second. Now, like I said, I suspect that this, even though the resolution is lower, it's gonna appear like clearer and smoother because of the more frames per second. The other thing you can do when you're shooting at a low frame rate is you can't like whip the camera like around real fast, or it makes you like motion sick because you see the blurring, and naturally your eyes wouldn't do that if you snapped your head around. So with 60 frames a second, you can make some really fast camera movements, and it's not terrible, although I do see my stabilizer trying to catch up. I wonder if that'll stick with us. So yeah, we're trying to see. And we'll have to do is port these into edit in post in the studio. And what I'll do is I'll chop them in half and I'll put them side by side with each other. We'll watch some of it. And then I guess from the studio itself, I'll be right there with you guys as we find out which one of these we think we like better. So let's check them out. Let's put them side by side and see how they look like.
Video on the left is 4K, 24 frames per second. The video on the right is 1080, 60 frames per second. Right away I can see there is a huge boost in clarity and resolution on the left-hand video. Right-hand video kind of just looks blurry, even with the extra frame rates put in there. I would definitely conclude that the one on the left at the higher resolution but lower frame rate just looks better. I mean, look at the colors even. The red shirt when it pops out. The blues in the sky, there's that one like green and yellow tree in the background. The difference is indeed clear. The ground, like, so yeah, I think it's settled here that a higher resolution for clarity is tantamount as opposed to using a higher frame rate. The only reason you'd use a higher frame rate is when I talked about how if you're going to use fast movements, or maybe you are filming something that moves really fast and you want to slow it down, then you go with a higher frame rate. You might be able to get away with the loss in resolution, or you could do 4K 60, but you'd have to prepare yourself for a giant file size at that point. Otherwise, I think the evidence here is clear. 4K 24 wins in my opinion versus 1080 60. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Have a great day.